Hi and welcome to my channel. I hop in for this full moon as I really like this full moon and I have decided to resume doing them based on demand. I had people reaching out to me for different circumstances and astrology has so much to offer that I want to do it justice. So I have decided that my information is going to be more general for the collective and no longer limited to financial outlooks as I'm leaving that for private clients on a more tailored approach to their needs. But to compensate, I'm gonna add a sign-by-sign videos so you'll know what this lunation means for you. Likewise, my name is changing too as I'm no longer niched down to one aspect of astrology or life, and all these changes are in line with the astrology anyway, and Uranus just crossed my ascendant, which is quite liberating among other things. Anyway, let's get started. So today I'll analyze the astrology of this full moon in Sagittarius. Even if full moons are usually more challenging as situations reach fullness and they tend to be confrontation as the luminaries oppose, resulting in releasings or terminations due to either situations reaching to a peak or confrontations or both, this full moon has a positive outlook as is ruled by Jupiter, the great benefic, which is at 0 Cancer, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. And 0 degrees of the cardinal signs are critical degrees, but a positive one, and is the most cardinal energy within the cardinals, meaning pointing to a new start. And in order to make room for that fresh start, we need to bring something to a close to leave room for the new. But this closure looks more like a graduation of some sort, as Jupiter is a teacher and also rules higher education and faith, aiming the arrow high at higher goals and aspirations. There's also a mutual reception here as Jupiter is in the sign ruled by the moon and the moon is in the sign ruled by Jupiter. So there's a mutual support between these planets and their influences. And Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces, where the North Node is. That is like our guiding star. So this is all very Jupiterian energy and is working in tandem for a bigger cause, to raise the bar for a spiritual cause. Jupiter is also conjunct Mercury, the planet of communication, the messenger of the gods, bringing messages that hit home, as is in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is like the crab, the animal that does not leave the home. And Mercury is also the merchant planet, favoring transactions and business ventures, especially if it is a business that is done from home, like an online business or a home rental business or a home office or a homestead. Because we're coming from and we're still under the influence of the recent Gemini new moon that was ruled by Mercury in its own rulership, though weakened by the sun because it was combust, this prompted new beginnings in the communications and business sectors, and that was witnessed by Jupiter in Gemini too, which, though it was in detriment and weak, was contributing to benefiting that influence. So this full moon works in tandem with the recent new moon and continues the story. Now, the luminaries, the sun and the moon, are at the bending of the Nords of fate, making a grand cross, so we are like at a crossroads between past and future. And we know humans to resist change, and yet is the only constant. Otherwise, there's stagnation and thus decay, and that can be comfortable at first, but only for so long. We are challenged to embrace the new, the uncomfortable unknown, but there's an element of faith. Now, the moon is in a beautiful grand trine with warrior Mars fighting the good fight in fiery Leo. So it's ready to take charge ahead and meeting fire with fire. So there's no stopping us. And it's also in a trine with Chiron too, the wounded healer. That's the place where we hurt, but also where we heal. Because in order to heal, we have to face the hurt first. And is in the sign of Aries, which gets very defensive, but is ruled by Mars, the action-oriented planet, supporting this change because it rectifies things, it sets the record straight, and that brings up closure and healing. Uranus is square Mars in fixed signs, so Uranus in Taurus wants to break free. And Mars in Leo wants what it wants, but none of them wants to yield. So what is it going to be? Do you want to invest the energy required to break free from a situation that you feel stuck in, or you're going to throw caution to the wind and go for what you want? The thing is, you don't have to choose because you can allocate time for each other. At the end of the day, it's about balance. And this is because Saturn, aka Kronos, the Lord of Time, is conjunct Neptune, the Lord of Expansion, in the sign of Aries, the hot cardinal sign of new beginnings, which is ruled by Mars, the warrior planet. So Mars is very strong now, for better and for worse, because Mars gives you the impulse you need, but you don't want to lose your measure either. So it's about to achieving balance. And it's not hard to achieve balance. What is hard is to maintain it. Now, let me recap on this Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is very unique. Not only that happens once every 36 years, but Saturn is chasing Neptune and they get as close as they can without touching. What I call the dry hump conjunction, because until they meet, which will happen in February of 26, they cannot manifest a new life. But in the meantime, Saturn is slow and steady building structure for what is new, and Neptune keeps up the faith and asks you to give it to God, because with the help of the divine, we can bring our dreams into manifestation. Now, Neptune is castles in the air and Saturn is foundations. So when you put a foundation to the castle, now you have a castle on earth. And before we can manifest anything, it starts in the realm of the ideas. And this is what the recent new moon in Gemini was all about. But now the Saturn-Neptune conjunction squares the Jupiter-Mercury conjunction. And these are in cardinal signs, so we're eager to start something, and maybe more than one thing, but we might not know what to do first. And that's when go-getter Mars has to be tempered, because Uranus wants sudden change. But in an Earth sign, we're forced to stay grounded, not to rock the boat too much. And all of that is bound to change soon when Uranus moves into Gemini by July 8. But we're feeling the pressure as it's approaching an already critical degree of the sign until it finally steps into Gemini, where it's going to further rock the boat, but more on that later. The conjunction sextile Uranus is helping us to go with the flow of change to manifest in a realistic way, because it's the only sustainable way. And Pluto in a trine with Uranus is helping us reinvent ourselves and therefore our lives. And this grand sextile affects the collective and has a generational repercussion, as there are 3 outer planets involved, which are slow-moving planets, and these influences sustain for a while. Now, Venus, the lesser benefic, is now in Taurus, where she's exalted, and this is benefiting love, harmony, beauty, and diplomacy. And sextile Mercury benefiting communications too, but at odds with the luminaries, the sun and the moon, representing the yin and yang, the male and female energies. And she's squaring Pluto, telling us that we need to transform the way we love. And I can tell you, as a therapist myself and working with couples, most of the problems arise from having different love languages. We want to receive the way we express. And as we're different people, we have different needs. So we need to negotiate how we relate. And the relationship is the third entity among the partners, which makes for the holy trinity of the relationship. So it's not just about you and him or her, but about the ecosystem that you both build together, and Pluto is asking you to reinvent that. At least Venus is now separated from wounded Chiron, and Chiron is supported by Mars, its dispositor, with a nice trine, and this tells us that the way to heal is to take actions towards it, because when Venus was in Chiron, it made us realize that what is that we have to heal, and now how to go about it, which is not by sweeping it under the rug, is by taking action, like to see a therapist, for example, start a new regime, you name it. In general, this full moon is going to be felt most by the mutable signs around 15 to 25 degrees, and that's Sagittarius, where it's happening, Gemini, as it opposes you, and Pisces and Virgo, as it squares you. And it's going to be the easiest for the fire signs, also around 15 to 25 degrees, and that's Sagittarius, where it happens, and Aries and Leo, because it's going to trine your energy. And now for the signs, I'll make separate videos for each sign, which applies mostly to the rising, which determines the rest of the house system in your chart and represents your ego and your identity and the way you express yourself. Then for your sun, which is like your soul in this physical world, and finally your moon, which is like your mood and therefore emotional and more internal experience. Now, you can also check the sign in which you might have a stellium, which is a cluster of 3 planets or more, where there's concentrated energy in your chart, and some even like to check the sign where they have the North Node, which is like your mission in this incarnation. And I recommend checking them all, as it's more of a comprehensive reading to understand how this energy could affect you. And for Sag, Sun, Moon, or Rising, the full moon is in your first house. This is you, yourself, your identity, your leadership, and self-expression. And the Saturn conjunction falls in your 5th house of creativity, romance, love, children, and fun. And the theme is a case of the time of the truth arrives. You're ready to take creative control of your life and pursue what you love and what brings you joy. But that can only happen if you release the old ego mask that you acquired to feel safe, and now they're no longer helping you because they're obsolete. And this is your opportunities to align with your soul's deeper calling. And that's not only going to make you shine brighter, but you're going to be more attractive, more loose, and more playful, and have more fun. And this could be a case where you might be wondering if to have children, and if you do, the answer is yes. As the line in the movie Lost in Translation, the character said, "When you have children, your life as you know it is forever gone, and yet that's the best thing that can happen to you." And with the North Node of home, roots, and family, and the South Node of career, legacy, and reputation, it's time to prioritize your family life over career demands, or bring the work home as to balance both. And with that, I will leave you today. Please share the love and subscribe, because it's good karma. It takes me more than a minute to make this and just a sec to like, and it makes a world of a difference for the survival of the channel. Feel free to comment below or make requests. I'll make my best to honor them, and hit the bell for notifications not to miss out. And if you need a personal reading where I can help you the most, my prices are reasonable, so reach out to me at AstrologyByVirginia@pm.me. I'm also working on a beginner's course to teach you how to learn your own chart, so contact me to inquire about that. Remember, I will never reach out to you, so be aware of scammers. Thank you for your time. See you next time. Namaste.